What is going on, Laker fans? The hell is going on, Laker fans? Appreciate you guys hanging out, tuning in. Little post game show action here. Go for about a solid half hour or so. That's kind of I'll be around that range, somewhere around there. For those who don't know, I'm also doing a morning show now, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on Hoops Talk, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So, but I did want to toss some Lakers basketball preseason game number 3 in the books, which means we are halfway home to getting to the regular season starting. So we're not that far away. Just a few more games left, and we're going to get there. That, to me, is probably the most exciting thing about preseason. It's just that we're getting closer to actually playing real games. What do we got here? What's the next one? Is not until next Tuesday against the Warriors. Then we got back-to-back Warriors or Suns and the Warriors. And then, of course, we're still about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks away from when Lakers start the season against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So we still got some time. No worries there, but that's exactly where we are right now. All right, so let me just kind of talk a little bit about this specific game. Lakers, like I mentioned, over the Milwaukee Bucks. Kind of a random ending to this game. It looked like Lakers were getting their ass kicked, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at the score, if you look at 1 point, Lakers, I want to say the most that they were down by was 15 at 1 point. They outscored the Bucks 33-20. Who would have known we were talking about a guy, Quincy Olivara. Quincy Olivara, out of nowhere. I don't know much about this guy. So we're watching the game. I'm listening to Billy Mack and Stu, obviously on Spectrum SportsNet. And while the game is going on, I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, wait, what the heck is going on here? Lakers would eventually go on a 31-6 run to win the game by 5, actually 107-102 the final score. I was wrong in my stats here that I put up here, 107-102 the final. So we'll take that out off there. But just I will say this, and listen, I'm not going to make too big of a deal about anything because it's preseason basketball, and I don't think anybody's going to be overly concerned whatever the hell happens. Whether the Lakers lost this game by 15, 20 points, 30 points, or they won by 20, I don't think that means anything. The only thing that I will just say, and I'll get a little bit into some of the individual players and just kind of my thoughts on it, but the only thing that I'll really say is I kind of like the way some of those bench guys sitting on the bench, rooting on a lot of these guys that were in there towards the end, guys getting minutes at the end that probably you would never really think would get minutes, or the only time you're going to get minutes is in a preseason game. But are these guys really going to get minutes in a regular season game? Probably not. Maxwell Lewis. It's actually kind of funny. The guys actually ended up with the most minutes off the bench. Don't count Dalton Knecht because he played 34 minutes. That tells you what J.J. Redick thinks about him and how he just wants to get this guy as many reps as possible. But Quincy Olivara, like I was mentioning, ended up only playing 9 minutes, had 11 points. A lot of these guys that came in at the end that were contributing, Maxwell Lewis only played 11 minutes, had 9 points. So it was really players that are not really going to get opportunities, but kind of sparked something for the Lakers. And it was fun just to see guys like LeBron James and D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt and some of these other players sitting on the bench basically being cheerleaders for the fourth quarter. I know Bron didn't play the entire second half, but that was cool to see. What I pay more attention to rather than, what the second half looked like, what does it look like when the top players of the Milwaukee Bucks are going up against the top players of the Los Angeles Lakers? So that's typically going to happen in the first half. If I'm breaking that portion down of the game, that's a little bit different. You get a chance to see. I mean, there were moments where Giannis looked just incredible, unstoppable, blocking LeBron on one side of the floor, doing his kind of signature 2 steps from basically the 3-point line and dunking it home. Bobby Portis, who I think we've all got a chance to watch here over the years. I don't know if I've seen that guy miss a shot in the last year. Bobby Portis shot 8 for 9 from the field, had 23 points. So it's interesting to watch the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know how good Milwaukee's going to be this year. I was watching something on NBA TV where they were talking about how most people are projecting the Bucks to be a number 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think the teams that were in front of them, the Knicks, obviously incredibly talented. Philly's on that list with Paul George. Boston, I don't have to tell you anything about. And I think Indiana was the other team. So I don't know how good Milwaukee's going to be. It's still kind of weird to watch them play. Dame didn't look comfortable at any point last year. In the brief amount of time I got a chance to watch him in this preseason game, still looks okay. Nothing special. Not the Damian Lillard that we were, obviously used to watching when he was playing for the Portland Trailblazers, and he was in the Western Conference, and the Lakers would play them 4 times a year, and he was an absolute killer. Not really that guy in Milwaukee, but the end was cool. But I like watching in preseason games. Show me when LeBron's on the floor, when Giannis is on the floor, when Dame's on the floor. That starting lineup that the Lakers threw out there, Max Christie was out there as well because Austin Reeves was out. I like to look at that. I like to look at, why is Bobby Portis going 8 of 9 from the field? What was your answer for Giannis? And I know you only play this team twice a year, but at least you get to see some real stars on the other side, and you get to kind of gauge, how do the Lakers look in a predicament situation like that? If the Lakers went on, hypothetically, a 31-6 run, and that 31-6 run was happening, that 31-6 run was happening when Giannis and some of these other players were in, that to me would be obviously more impressive. The one thing I will say that I thought was interesting, right to start out the game, it was, I think the Lakers went down 4-0. And this you don't see very often in the preseason, and I don't mind it at all because I just love the game of basketball. J.J. Redick out of nowhere called a timeout. He calls a timeout, and he gets the crew back together, and I think Lakers went on a 13-3 run, something along those lines. I want to say they were up 13-7. So that was interesting, right? J.J. Redick kind of challenging the team early that, yes, I understand it's a preseason game, but can you do me a favor and not just walk up and down this floor, and let's at least put a little bit of effort. Let's at least kind of try to set some type of a standard. And I know, again, it's preseason basketball, so it's very difficult to try to do that. But at the same time, whether you're practicing or it's preseason basketball, it's a regular season game, whatever it is, I think it's the way you approach all of these games. And I think a lot of the good coaches and the good teams out there, it says something. And if you approach even preseason a certain way, you're probably going to approach it a certain way during regular season as well, whether that's a good thing or that's a bad thing. One thing I'll point out as well, Lakers just 14 of 44 from the three-point line. They took 44 threes. Get ready for a lot of threes coming up from the Lakers. And by the way, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's just going to depend on if they're falling or they're not. But about 32% from the three-point line. Just to compare to Milwaukee, Milwaukee shot 15 less threes. They were more efficient, shot almost 45% from the three-point line. They were 13-21. Lakers, like I mentioned, 44 three-point attempts. They're going to be firing threes. I mean, that's don't be shocked by that. I think that's going to be part of J.J. Redick's philosophy. I remember Anthony Davis during media day. One of the questions I asked him are just, what are some things that you want to continue to work on in your game? And he mentioned three-point shooting and that J.J. Redick is going to encourage him to shoot. I remember last year, Darvin Ham, I think it was during training camp, had said something that he wants to see Anthony Davis take 6 threes a game. And to be honest with you, everybody criticized Darvin Ham at that time. It's like, what are you talking about? Why would you do that? What's the point of doing that? But at the end of the day, I think it was done just primarily, literally primarily just because it never happened. But I think he was just trying to get Anthony Davis to shoot more threes. J.J. Redick's going to try to do the same thing. I think there's a happy medium. I think you could, hit a certain amount of threes without kind of being overly aggressive, maybe, if that's the right way to put it. Anthony Davis, if he takes a couple threes because it's just fluid, it's in motion. I mean, tonight he took 4, and that was in 25 minutes of play, and he was 0 for 4. So I'm a fan if that's what you want to do. If you want to end up taking threes, you just got to make sure they're the right threes, and you also got to make sure that you're hitting them. LeBron, 11.6 rebounds, did not play in the second half, played 16 minutes. Anthony Davis, 11 points, 8 rebounds. I mentioned the 25 minutes that he played. So it just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. This is where we are now with Lakers basketball, getting a little bit closer. Still obviously a way to go. I don't think there's this unbelievably overly excited, you're in preseason basketball and everybody's getting excited to watch these games, but it is preseason and, Lakers are obviously they got to play their 6 games. And I do have some curiosity on some of these other players. I mentioned Dalton Knecht. Let me hit on that real quick. Dalton Knecht played 34 minutes, shot 5 of 16 from the field and 2 of 10 from the three-point line. The dude clearly has the green light. Go ahead and fire away. I think what JJ Redick is doing with Dalton Knecht right now, I think there's probably this, I want you to play as many minutes as possible in the summer league and in preseason basketball because I need you once the regular season starts. Dalton Knecht, there were, players out there. There was an NBA GM survey. I think he was one of the players that they anticipated would be one of the steals in the draft. So that's obviously a really, really good sign of the Lakers drafting him. Which rookie will be the best player in 5 years? Dalton Knecht got some votes. This is the one. Which rookie was the biggest steal at where he was selected in the draft? And there were, I think, 6 different players that were all tied at 10%. This is a GM survey. And Dalton Knecht was one of those players as well, selected at number 17. A lot of people thought there was a lot of value there. But I think the main reason why Dalton Knecht, you see him playing 34 minutes in a preseason game and also taking 16 shots and firing up 10 threes, that's primarily because this guy's going to get opportunities during the regular season, and they're trying as best as they can, give him as much experience as possible. So when the regular season starts, opening night at Crypto.com Arena against the Minnesota Timberwolves, when we get to that point, when we get to that moment on, was it the 22nd, I think, October 22nd, then he's got some reps in him. He's got some opportunities under his belt. So do you want to see him shoot 5 of 10 from the 3? Of course, we all do. But I wouldn't pay too much attention to that just yet. Again, I'm paying more attention to the fact that this guy's getting a lot of time, a lot of shots, because they're probably going to find a way to use him once the regular season starts. I think that is very, very likely. Let me jump in here. I want to play a little bit of JJ. He's talking right now. Let's see if he's got something on his mind. Let's take a quick listen.
So he's in unbelievable shape at all times. When we did all of our conditioning in September, he won nearly every run. For August and September, when we had our light days and we did our shooting drills, he, I think, has the highest score in nearly every shooting drill we have. He takes the game very seriously. He's a player who, I talk about care factor. Like, he's a player who has a care factor for doing it the right way and wanting to execute whatever vision you give him. I'm excited that he's in our program. I really am. We look at him as a coaching staff in very high regard.
Other takeaways, maybe you can go back to the first half and when that starting group was out there, minus Austin. And did you feel like you got some of the things done that you had listed pregame that were focuses?
Yeah, we didn't necessarily game plan, but we gave them 3 things pregame that we truthfully haven't had a ton of time to work on. One was our pick and roll coverage with Dame, which conceptually we haven't practiced once. And I thought Max Christie and our bigs did a really good job. We gave them some veer to pop against their popping bigs. We executed it a little bit, not great, but a little bit. We've had about 5 minutes in practice. That's all the time we've had so far to practice that. And then, our loads in transition to Giannis, which we showed him on tape. That's what we had time for. So would have been nice to have a practice day yesterday, but that was the breaks. So that wasn't great. Our transition defense in the first half was not great. Overall, I thought the group that played the first half did a nice job.
All right, that's JJ Redick. So I just wanted to play a little bit of that, just kind of get a little feel of what he's talking about, just kind of get his gauge on everything. I talked about this morning. By the way, I see a lot of these comments here. One of them, who is number 41? That guy's pretty good. Yep, that's the guy that we're all talking about. Quincy Olivara. Lakers win. Shout out to Quincy Olivara for his fourth quarter magic. Legit, that was cool, especially moments like that for players like that aren't really typically going to get an opportunity. They're trying to fight to make a roster, make a name for themselves in the league. Things like this help, right? There could be a team that ends up watching, or the Lakers decide, hey, let's make sure that we're developing this guy. Let's see what he's all about. So moments like this are important for certain players. They're not as important for other players. It just kind of depends, right? It depends on who you are. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on – there's a lot of things that it depends on. And for him, it was a cool moment. I'm going to go back to JJ Redick for a quick second. So this morning I was talking about it, NBA GM survey. Again, a lot of these aren't typically in the best interest of the Lakers. They're just not, and that's okay. I don't think it really matters all that much, but it gives you a gauge of kind of how the league thinks about certain teams, about certain players, whatever it is. There's a number of different things out there. But I thought the one that was on coaches that will have, I think, the biggest impact on their new team. So which new or relocated head coach will make the biggest impact on his new team? Let's just say, and I don't know 100% if these GMs, if they're one of two things. Either they have no confidence in the Lakers or they have no confidence in JJ Redick as a head coach, or maybe it's a combination of the two. But out of the 6 new coaches or coaches that have relocated, they've gone from one team to another. JJ Redick, they had him percentage-wise the smallest of impact on any of the new coaches that are in the NBA. Mike Budenholzer was number 1 with Phoenix. They think he's going to have the biggest impact. 40% of the GMs think he's number 1. JJ Redick has 3% of the vote of the GMs. Which new or relocated head coach will make the biggest impact on his new team? JJ Redick, just 3%. So tells you something right there. I don't know if you ask me, and I've kind of said this before when it comes to it, but I don't know if JJ Redick's going to be a really good coach in the league, or JJ Redick's going to be an okay coach in the league, or JJ Redick. I have no way of knowing, and I don't know simply because I've never seen JJ Redick coach before. So this is going to be the first time that he's in this position. So we're going to have to kind of wait and see. This is JJ Redick will be a huge improvement over Darvin Ham. Did you guys read these quotes? There was because the Lakers were playing the Milwaukee Bucks. For those who don't know, Darvin Ham is now an assistant coach with the Milwaukee Bucks. So obviously Doc Rivers, a big part of the decision to try to bring Darvin Ham over. Here's what Darvin Ham, or here's what, and this is just going off of a lot of Laker fans just wanted to get rid of Darvin Ham. They just want to get rid of Darvin Ham. Doc Rivers earlier today said, more importantly, and he was talking about Darvin Ham being an assistant, he deserves it. I'm not going to get into the whole thing that happened there, talking about the Lakers, but he took a team to a Western Finals, and the following year he won the in-season tournament, which they say we should have a lot of value on. And then they release him. It literally makes no sense, but it happens. It happens to all of us. It's part of what we do. But Darvin Ham's a coach. He should be on the sidelines, and I wanted him next to me. So, by the way, no surprise that Doc Rivers is going to speak his mind, give his opinion, back up his, certainly back up his assistant coach. So I don't think that part is surprising at all. I don't find that as a shocker or anything like that. However, I think it's fair to say, I mean, Darvin had he had his moments where head scratching moments of, wait, I'm not sure if Darvin Ham is ready to be in this situation. He had his moments where there were times that I think everybody thought, has he lost the team? You know, I'll never forget this, and I've repeated it so many times because I believe it. There was a time during the playoffs after game 2 where the Lakers gave up a 20-point lead to the Denver Nuggets. And Anthony Davis says in a presser with all the cams and the mics on him, AD knows what he's doing. He's been in the league for a long time. He says, sometimes we don't know what we're doing on both sides of the floor. There is no other reflection. That's a message to your head coach that our head coach doesn't know what he's doing, or at least he believes his head coach doesn't know what he's doing. So I think a lot of this, you know, we look at that situation, whether you are a fan of Darvin Ham or you weren't, and I think a lot of people were not fans of Darvin Ham. I look more and I kind of pay close attention to that. Do you still have your players? Are there players that are on your team? Do you have the locker room? Because the moment you don't have the locker room, it's a wrap. The moment that you've lost the locker room, then it's over. There really is no, I don't think there's a way to recover if you're a head coach if you lose the locker room, and he clearly lost the locker room. So whether he's going to have more opportunities, what kind of success he's going to have in the NBA, he does have on his resume, he made to the Western Conference Finals. You can't take that away from him. You just can't. The in-season tournament that Doc Rivers mentions, that's a little more comical to me. I don't think the in-season tournament means anything. I really don't. And I don't know if my opinion is going to change on that. But yeah, that's what Doc Rivers was saying about Darvin Ham, now that Darvin Ham is an assistant with the Milwaukee Bucks. All right, let me get to a couple of these. We all could tell Ham wasn't it and had no idea what he was doing. Let me see here. Yeah, I agree with that. I think there was, if you asked me, I think at the end of the day, I think it was kind of easy. This one was an easy one to gauge, that had a couple of years. That's more, to be honest with you, probably on Rob Pelinka of who he's been hiring as the head coach. And JJ Redick, that's almost one of those situations where, this one better work, because if it doesn't work and you're continuing to recycle coaches every single year, that's a bad look it's already a bad look for the organization, but it looks even worse if they're in a position where, obviously JJ Redick, let's just hope he works out. Let's just put it that way. I just hope he works out. And I hope we're all sitting here 3 years from now and it's kind of a no-brainer that it works out. Okay, a couple other things here, and then we'll call it a night. Again, just wanted to do a quick little post game here tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'm back on 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. We'll talk some Lakers basketball. Obviously, continue to talk really anything relevant to SoCal sports. And right now, it's impossible not to be talking Padres and the Dodgers. Game 5 at Dodger Stadium coming up tomorrow. A couple other players I want to mention. So Max Christie, 15 minutes, only took 4 shots. Max Christie is, I think, sometimes in a tough position when he's playing. He jumps in the starter role today for Austin Reeves. Sometimes I think he's in a tough spot because I think he's trying to cater to making sure that he's kind of in his place. Okay, I want to make sure that LeBron's on the floor, Anthony Davis is on the floor, D'Lo's on the floor, Rui's on the floor. Rui had 14 points tonight, 6 of 12. By the way, I can't emphasize how key Rui's going to be this year. Rui's going to be so important. And I'm not sure if he's going to deliver or not. I just know that it's very important for Rui Hachimura to be good this year. But let me go back to Max Christie real quick. There's times I want to see him more aggressive, but I also understand where he's coming from. He's playing with other guys. He's probably saying to himself, all right, don't screw this up. But for Max Christie to kind of get to his maximum potential, I want to see times where Max Christie says, now I got to be a little bit more aggressive here. Where Max Christie, and again, I know he's going to make the right basketball play, but I don't really know what his ceiling is. And when I look at Dalton Knecht's numbers today, Dalton Knecht was firing from everywhere. Doesn't mean he was hitting, but it was just the confidence and the green light that I could go. And I'm curious how JJ ends up using Max Christie, because that's a player that I think a lot of people think can have impact. But I almost now, is there too much hype behind Max Christie because everybody's talking about him and everybody's saying how important he's going to be this year? Or is that going to be something that, it's just I know he's going to get more opportunities. I know that part's going to be there. But as far as, everything else, I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be in a position or kind of put himself in a position where he feels confident to say, hey, let me just go. Let me just be myself and let me show that I got, obviously I got unbelievable skills. I think that's all we got for tonight. Taurean Prince playing for the Bucks again. I forgot about that until I saw it today. I remember in the offseason, obviously, he chose the Milwaukee Bucks. Gary Trent Jr. on the Milwaukee Bucks as well. So we'll see what their team is. Their team, Chris Middleton's going to definitely have to be healthy. Can they squeeze out another run? I have no idea. I thought when they got Dame, watch out for the Milwaukee Bucks, but maybe Drew Holiday was the better piece for the Bucks. They did cash in. They did get a championship. Giannis put a lot of pressure on the organization to go make a move, and they did. But it has not cashed out by any stretch of the imagination. Got somebody here that's not a fan of Cam. What did he end up? What was his stat line? How much are we even going to see of him this year? Redick ended up 14 minutes, 0 points. 2 assists, 2 rebounds. Give the man his props. 2 assists, 2 rebounds. All right, Laker fans, that's all I got tonight. Just wanted to get on, give a little bit kind of quick thoughts right after the game ended. I went on right away so I could kind of crank this out and get this at least up. For those that are not watching live and they're watching recorded later, I appreciate you guys hanging out. I'm back on tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Hope you guys can join me, hang out there as well. And, of course, we're getting a little bit closer to Lakers season starting as well. So thank you for hanging out. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks, guys.